What's up, YouTube? We got a little bit something different today. We are participating in my first doubles draft league in a while. Mr. Joey Pokeaim invited me to his doubles draft league of the Shuckle Premier League Season 4. So I did not actually get to compete in the WBE doubles league because I ended up choosing a singles draft league because they were splitting at the time. And you know what? Thought it'd be pretty fun to try out the doubles league. And we have a match of week 1 versus the Miami Palafins, coached by Tone. And I am doing this post commentary because the day we played this, I was not able to use my voice. I was super tired. Night out with the boys in the city for their birthday. So, but week 1, we have Tone here. Has the Ogerpon, Heartflame, Keldeo, Volbeat, Salamence, Tyranitar, Excadrill, Gardevoir, Kilowattrel, and Cinccino. My draft, which might be evil, but I'm here to prove a point. Goldengo, Dondozo, Glamora, Ting-Lu, Enamorous and Carniform, the Fire Tauros, the Meowscarada, Fletchinder, and Tatsugiri. And the reason I drafted Dondozo is because I thought the point system was ridiculous for Dondozo, because why is this thing was like 10 points for the draft and Tatsugiri is 15. Dondozo should be way higher. Had to prove a point, but yeah, so we have a match against Tone. I didn't do that much prep because I was running low on time, actually. I ended up being way busier than I thought. It's been a busy couple of weeks for me. However, did look around for like an hour and figured that my best approach is they didn't have the best answers on Dondozo. A lot of the things that they brought were, according to my expectation, they brought the Tyranitar Excadrill, which I thought was really good against my team. They brought the Kilowattrel, which I was 100% expecting with the Ogerpon Heartflame. Salamence is definitely one I was not surprised by. And then the only one I was actually really surprised by was Volbeat. I didn't think Volbeat was actually going to be brought. I didn't think it was that good because there aren't that many counters to a Dondozo that Volbeat gets access to. But the main fears that I had going into this game were going to be like some kind of surprise trick with Endeavor Kilowattrel. The Ogerpon Heartflame could be a bit scary, and I think the Salamence, if it had the Focus Energy crit set, which I was preparing for. Those were the only things that I could see that threatened Dragon Dondozo. So went in this with mine. I knew Focus Sash Glamora was good, and I do lead Glamora Dondozo immediately. And this is a pretty good lead for me, like Kilowattrel with the Volbeat, and I'm like, okay, I have a pretty safe position. I don't know whether this Kilowattrel is going to be Focus Sash or not. Even though they have sand, definitely could be a surprise factor here. So I did want to go immediately for attacks. I had to focus Sash on Glim, that was super safe. And Kilowattrel can't really pressure the Dondozo as long as I go for Terra Dragon. So I go for the double up in case it is Focus Sash with the Wave Crash plus the Power Gem, because it pretty much covered every switch. I am running the Dondozo with the order up from the Tatsugiri speed booster because I designed the Dondozo to outspeed the Kilowattrel after getting an extra speed boost from the order up. So that's what we're rocking here. Focus Sash Glamora, I wanted max special attack because it's able to threaten the Ogerpon and do a lot of damage to their team and stick around on the field, which is pretty ideal because they have a huge amount of weaknesses to Glamora's attacks. As I said before, gonna go straight for the Terra with my Dondozo into that Terra Dragon. Super safe play here, and not really much that I want to say. That Terra Dragon was just so good as a defensive typing against their team in general. We are going to see the Tailwind come out from the Volbeat immediately, which is absolutely fine by me, as the Kilowattrel went for the Volt Switch, and I ended up calcing this Volt Switch, and it ended up revealing it is Choice Specs Kilowattrel, which makes this a lot easier because being able to scout for the move from the Kilowattrel and be able to pin it is nice. The only thing I have to worry about from Volbeat is Encore, really. So I do have to play a bit more aggressive with Dondozo. That's why I'm not protecting or anything. That's why I decided to go on the offense, because other than Encore, like, Volbeat really doesn't do too much. And whatever comes in is they get Power Gem plus Wave Crash. Nothing on their team switches into this well. We're going to see the Ogerpon Heartflame come in, and doesn't matter about Mold Breaker. I am breaking that Ogerpon's mask apart, as Power Gem actually doesn't KO the Ogerpon, but this Wave Crash does KO the Ogerpon with the double up, and I successfully have gotten rid of Ogerpon Heartflame, which isn't the biggest threat to my team, but always getting rid of one mon that is super powerful right off the bat and provides crit factors into the game, always super ideal. So we get a strong knockout. I'm not really that scared of Kilowattrel anymore because I know that's Choice Specs. It's just looking like a very safe position for me for the most part. So I'm very happy about how this turned in place. And I just basically am trying to figure out, okay, what the last Pokemon is, but I wasn't too sure. I don't think it's Tyranitar at this point in the game. I don't think it's Excadrill, but I think it could maybe. I think it's probably going to be the Salamence, but the Kilowattrel comes in and it's like, okay, a Kilowattrel doesn't threaten a KO on either of my Pokemon at this point. They could Volt Switch out again, but whatever. I'm just taking my knockouts. There really is not much I could see on their team here that really just switches in well. So I just have safe attacks across the board here. So debating about like if I want to commit into targeting the Volbeat, but I just don't really see a reason to at the moment. I think that I took my time because I was double checking the calc on the Kilowattrel there, but yes, and calcing the Ogerpon, but it wasn't super bulky. They reveal Rain Dance, which is an interesting tech. So Rain Dance is going to come out from the Volbeat and the Weather Ball. So they have Weather Ball, which is kind of cool. It's going to target down the Glimmora for super effective, but as I mentioned before, I do have that Focus Sash on the Glimmora. Super safe here. They didn't have much that threatened it, and a chance to get Toxic Spikes against their team is a reason why I brought Focus Sash and an ability to run the max special attacks, because as you can see, one shot the Kilowattrel and get a Wave Crash into the Volbeat. So looking pretty solid here, as they only have one Mon that can actually do offensive damage, which is pretty nice for me, as healing a bit back with the leftovers. But I do have to be a bit concerned because the last Pokemon, as I mentioned before, probably is going to be that Salamence, and Salamence is the biggest threat, I think, to what I could have remaining, and lo and behold, it is the Salamence. So it doesn't affect my Dondozo with the Intimidate because I do run the Oblivious on this set. I could have seen Gardevoir came into this matchup, and I was scared of Trace unaware, so I was pretty much forced to run Oblivious, even if that meant a weaker matchup to the Ogerpon Heartflame. So I decided, hey, go with the Oblivious, stops the Salamence from Intimidate. And now here I'm thinking of like, okay, what are they going to lock into? I feel like if the Volbeat has an attack, it's just going to KO the Glimmora, and they're probably just going to Draco Meteor the Dondozo. And I'm like, okay, if I can get the Salamence at -2, then that means that Salamence won't be able to knock out Dondozo, because this Dondozo isn't unaware. So I can actually take advantage of the Salamence being -2 special attack. So I do switch out to Dondozo here and go out into my Tauros, and Tauros is going to come in and get intimidated off if this is a physical Salamence, but I am expecting like a dragon move, probably Draco Meteor into again the Dondozo and Volbeat. I don't know what attacks it really has options for, but I'm expecting the Glimmora to KO here. I do see the Terra on the Salamence, which is nice, and they go for Terra Steel, which means that I pretty much have a really good endgame position, because now the Salamence, I don't have to worry about Terra anymore. We see Sunny Day, which I thought was really interesting. So we both saw Sunny Day and Rain Dance, and we saw Tailwind as well from the Volbeat. So I'm feeling pretty dang good about this in the end. We are able to see Heat Wave from the Salamence kill my Glimmora, which I was expecting Heat Wave, but it worked out. I go hard into Dondozo here, and the thing is, if there are not specs on the Salamence, then they aren't able to KO my Dondozo after the boost with the Draco Meteor. So there is really no reason for me not to just go into Tatsugiri at this point. Another thing I was worried about was a potential spec Salamence. Even though I was scared about Focus Energy, it was something to keep in mind. So what I do here instead, they also still have to threaten the Tauros too, and they can only Draco 1. And as long as I get the kill on Salamence, I think the Volbeat, I think I'll be fine against it. So they go for the Draco Meteor into Tauros, as I went for the close combat and the attack into the Volbeat, as they revealed the Endeavor, which I thought was like, ooh, okay, so that's what Volbeat does. I knew Kilowattrel had Endeavor. I actually didn't see Endeavor on Volbeat in my prep. Order Up, though, is able to pick up the knockout into the Volbeat, able to ignore the Sun, decreasing the power of Wave Crash. So just went with the safe one there. And now my Dondozo is looking pretty set up, because now we get to bring in Tatsugiri. And Tatsugiri, what allows me to do, of course, is go for the strong attack into the Salamence with all the boosts of Commander. Time to show some respect to Dondozo Tatsugiri. Welcome to BGC, my friend, because this is what it goes for. And I did choose this draft specifically because it was based off a lot of Japanese GC teams back in the early regulations. And let me just say, we are playing closed team sheet, and it is absolutely absurd what Dondozo plus Tinglu plus Glimmora plus Tatsugiri can do in closed team sheet. I'm here to make a statement. Dondozo should not be as cheap as it was, and led to, I think, the most consistent draft picks, I think, because we had 20 people in the draft, a lot of players. So I knew that sniping was going to be a thing, but the tools that Dondozo has, I think, are less affected by other players because they're more specific and niche to Dondozo, that they're less likely to pick it. Go for the Earthquake here on the Terra Steel Salamence and outspeed KO the Salamence, and that is the wrap for game 1. But we are doing a best of 3 close team sheet, although we do have open Terra types, so Terra types are open in this match. We are able to pick up the knockout on the Salamence and take the first game, which is always nice because they're the ones that have to adjust. I felt like I got a lot of good information. I found out that the Volbeat now is Endeavor is the only attacking move, so realistically, like, if they bring Volbeat again, like, Focus Sash Glim just targets down to partner. So I'm very happy about this spot. I am very happy about this spot because I don't think the Volbeat is that much of a threat. I can leave it around towards the end if they decide to bring it. But it's like, how did they adjust? Because they didn't have really the best tools to break through the Dondozo. Granted, we didn't see the item on the Salamence, but I am expecting the Scope Lens set once again. It wasn't Life Orb, it wasn't Choice Specs, so that's what I would expect, but I had no way to confirm, of course, till the end. But here we go, game 2, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, do I want to mix things up? But like, realistically, the lead was just perfect, right? Glamora Dondozo was just such a perfect lead that I'm thinking, okay, it still probably is worth it just to have the same lead, because there's really not ways I can see myself getting punished. I'm trying to calculate, okay, what leads can they even bring here? Like, they could lead Salamence, but even if they lead Salamence, it's like, what, Salamence Ogerpon maybe? But that's just weak to Glamora, right? And they have to respect Glamora because Power Gem is just threatening a lot of damage in the Salamence. The Oko probably on Salamence. Sledgehammer is threatening the Oko on the Heartflame. I have a Tatsugiri that I can switch in. There's just really, I think, there's no reason not to lead this lead, basically. So we will play another Dondozo game again. And I was debating about, like, okay, into this game, do I want to approach this with Terra on the Dondozo? Because they're going to probably bring Salamence again. They're probably going to need it. So I'm thinking, like, okay, what do I need to do? Do I decide, hey, I'm not going to Terra the Dozo this time, which I think is fair. In this turn, I'm debating about, like, okay, I don't know what the Kilowatch was going to do. We already saw how Power Gem worked out last time, and if they brought the sames in the back, like, it's like all Pokemon are weak to rock on their team. All Pokemon are weak to rock, what they brought last time. I go for Protect because I'm like, okay, I don't want to go for the Dragon Terra if I don't have to, again, specifically for the Salamence matchup. So I'm thinking, okay, I can just Power Gem the Kilowattrel. There's no way they can knock out the Glamora this turn because Endeavor doesn't do any damage to me as long as I leave the Volbeat alone. I get a free Power Gem into the slot, and it's like, okay, if they Terra the Kilowattrel, I'm happy with that because I don't really care about Kilowattrel too much. So I'm not really too concerned about this at the moment. I just protect Dondozo to keep it around. I did think about attacking aggressively if I really want to, but I'm up so much and I feel like the matchup is pretty good in my favor that there's no reason to risk it. They go for a Volt Switch into the Glamora, so super smart. They are able to break the Focus Sash immediately, but the same problem, but better for them because I don't have to pressure a Wave Crash because they saw I protected, and they actually revealed Tyranitar as the third Pokemon that they brought. So I'm like, I guess they left Ogerpon behind, which is actually really good for me. Or they left Salamence. I'm thinking they probably left the Ogerpon behind because if I Terra Dragon, I still don't see how the Tyranitar is beating me down. But at this point, it's like, okay, I don't have to worry about Encore from the Volbeat. Protect was safe earlier. Now it's like, okay, what can the Tyranitar really do? I'm thinking they probably just go for a Rock Slide or maybe a knockoff into Dondozo. So I'm like, okay, if I get rid of the Endeavormon as well as the Mon that provides Tailwind, if I just get the KO onto the Volbeat, as long as there's no Tailwind on the Specs Kilowattrel, which I'm thinking like last move might be Thunder, or Tailwind from the Salamence, I just control the speed once I stall out their Tailwind, and then my Dondozo just outruns their team. So, and I could potentially get Toxic Spikes if I need to, although it doesn't really matter against the Flymons. However, if I get a KO here, I think it's super valuable to me. I just don't see a reason why I don't go Tauros for the Intimidate here. I could have switched maybe in the Tatsugiri here for the Dondozo, But of course, Volbeat might be able to stick around because it can go for Sunny Day. It probably lives one boosted order up, even if I go for Terra Dragon. So I think the only way I can knock out the Volbeat is by going for the Power Gem into the Volbeat. And again, I don't think they have a switch in for the Volbeat slot for Power Gem. So I'm going to go into Tauros for that Intimidate. Into the Tyranitar. We reveal it's not Clear Amulet, which is nice. And they decide to go for Endeavor here. But it just does no damage to my Tauros. Rock Slide going to come out and it crits my Tauros, which was super unfortunate here. But I was like, okay, as long as I get the Power Gem here into Volbeat, I'm like completely fine with this. And yes, I do get the Power Gem. No flinch. Thank goodness, Glamora. Goodbye, Volbeat. And yeah, I mean, I was not scared about this Mon when I saw it. I was pretty happy when I saw Volbeat. So it will take advantage of their Sandstorm for the special defense increase, although we are super low. Tauros took a little bit, but I mean, what's nice is they didn't bring in Kilowattrel, so I don't have to worry about competitive as the Kilowattrel comes in now. And I'm like, okay, stall out this Tailwind and I'm completely fine. And I'm debating about like what order I want to go for here. Like, do I want to go for Spiky Shield and Sack here potentially to ensure I get a free switch to Dondozo and then set up an order up scenario? So that's what I'm thinking here. And I do decide, hey, I'm going to sack my Glamora and protect the Tauros because the Tauros can still have value against like Salamence in the back. And it's good into Tyranitar, of course, with close combat. And I don't think Tyranitar is tearing. And if it does tear, it's like, what does Tyranitar do to Dondozo that's boosted? It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't have any tech that can really affect it. So I'm like, okay, I'll sack my Glamora here. Because if I get the free switch to Dondozo, it's perfectly acceptable to me. Because I want to see what the Kilowattrel is locking in. And it goes for the Air Slash and the Tauros, which pretty much should be expected. So I don't even have to Terra my Dondozo if I don't want to the upcoming turn, as Rock Slide comes out. And if it misses, it's really bad for them. But they do connect, and I'm perfectly, again, happy with this because I just get a free switch to Dondozo, threaten the Kilowattrel and the Tyranitar slot. The Kilowattrel doesn't have Protect because we know it's choice specs based off the damage from earlier. And I'm not really scared of Tyranitar, so Tailwind's about to expire in the upcoming turn. They have one more turn of Tailwind, and then afterward, Dondozo gets to wreck shop into their team. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for Terra Dragon order up into Kilowattrel and just go into Tatsugiri. The reason I decide, hey, I'm gonna make this play is because I made sure to EV the Dondozo to always KO the Kilowattrel with the +2 order up. And getting the speed boost guaranteed means that I can outrun any Tailwind factors later on. And this also happens to work out really well for me because and the KO on Kilowattrel, and it also like, okay, if the Tyranitar for some reason decides to have Rock Tomb so it can affect my Dondozo speed for the Salamence, I want that speed order up to make sure that I outrun the Salamence guaranteed. So get to the boost, and I'm like, okay, just don't flinch with Air Slash, please, if they target Dondozo, and go for the Terra Dragon. Like, I only went for Terra Dragon just to ensure to knock down the Kilowattrel because that means they don't have room to pivot around. I guess it might have been fine if I just went for a regular order up. I definitely could have. I think that would have been all right as well. But I want to see if I can take the knockout as quickly as possible. And they went for the Air Slash into the Tauros slot. So does not get redirected. Rock Slide does come out though from the Tyranitar. They're going for a flinch. And I don't flinch. Although it didn't really change much because I would still be able to order up the next turn into the Kilowattrel. I guess it just comes down to, do they stay in? Do they click Air Slash flinch? Do they get more damage, I suppose? But thankfully, just avoiding these flinches has been very kind to me. Dondozo gets a speed boost, and now very good spot against the Salamence. Although they do have Terra, and we know that it's Terra Steel. So I kind of have to see what they have here, and do I commit to an attack immediately or do I not? That's the question here. And I was debating about like, okay, do I want to wave crash the Tyranitar or do I want to go for a order up or maybe a potential earthquake, because I'm in a pretty good spot. I know earthquake will knock out the Tyranitar. I have a good matchup against Tyranitar because I do have my Tauros still in the back that I preserved specifically for dealing with Tyranitar, as well as a backup to Terra Steel Salamence. Let's do order up Oko Salamence, and again, Intimidate was blocked by the Oblivious, so all I have to do really is figure out, okay, as long as this isn't Tailwind Salamence, I should be fine. And I do want to scout for a potential Rock Tomb into Dondozo in case there is some speed drop, although I really don't think that's going to matter too much. I am just playing a Terra Mind game. If they decide, hey, I have Tailwind on the Salamence, I get to find that information, and even then like Draco Meteor's not KOing the Dondozo unless they have, I guess, Expert Belt or maybe like Dragon Fang. But they revealed a Terra here, and now like all of their cards have basically been put into place where they don't have any more cards to hide. So Protect will come out from Dondozo, just a scout here, and it was the Focus Energy set, but the thing is, by going for the Focus Energy instead of just going for the crit odds, like this Dondozo's outspeeds the Salamence and just starts to see Oko on it. So unless they had Rock Tomb as a surprise here, then it wasn't going to impact anything. But the fact that the Tyranitar didn't go for the Rock Tomb just basically made me think, okay, this Tyranitar doesn't have any form of speed advantage that changes anything for Dondozo. So I think I'm free to just go for the Wave Crash into the Salamence. If they have Rock Tomb, we saw my Salamence or my Dondozo outspeed this Salamence at +2 anyway, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. They don't Protect. I get the Wave Crash into the Salamence. Gonna be able to easily KO the Salamence thanks to its Terra Steel, and Salamence goes down, and it is the Tyranitar versus the world, and it is just not doing enough damage. They go for the Rock Slide, and it's just not enough. It's just not enough as Dondozo eats that up, and that is going to be basically a wrap where Dondozo pretty much just gets another Wave Crash into the Tyranitar. No Terras to save them. This Dondozo just is able to eat up their entire team and seal up a 2-0 victory against the Miami Palafins. And good games to Tone. Felt like we had a really good matchup overall with Dondozo. Like Dondozo being Dondozo things, no Clear Smog, no Haze. Was able to provide some really strong factors. I'm sorry I'm not able to do it live, and I might not be able to do next week live either, just because of just how busy I am, and the timings have just not worked for me, unfortunately, to record it live. But we have a very exciting match next week. We have our match versus Joe UX9 and the New York Yveltals. And it's actually funny because late last night, or the night before I played this match, was Joe UX9's birthday, and that's who I was celebrating with. So should be a good one. So make sure, of course, you check out the other coaches in the Shuckle Premier League. Again, thank you to Joey for inviting me out to this league, and it's a blast. So hopefully we'll just be able to showcase some strong matches and prove that Dondozo should not be this cheap. Like, really, Dondozo should not be this cheap. Subscribe to the channel for more VGC content always. And yeah, we got a lot of cool coaches. Again, a lot of cool matches going to be coming up. And hopefully we're able to make playoffs in our first doubles draft league. And let me know if you want more draft league content down below.